Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Bounce is back.
It's the Friday edition of Areva Martin Real Time. Avi Bernard here with you every Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific. Let's get you caught up. At midnight, the United Auto Workers Union officially went on strike against the big three automakers. Members walked out at 3 plants, a GM site in Wentzville, Missouri, a Stellantis center in Toledo, Ohio, and a Ford assembly location in Wayne, Michigan. Donald Trump warned that U.S. auto workers' jobs will move to China and accused the United Auto Workers leadership of failing its members. President Joe Biden said today he hopes the United Auto Workers Union and the big three auto companies return to the negotiating table to forge a win-win agreement. Biden said, quote, "No one wants a strike, but I respect workers' right to use their options under the collective bargaining system," close quote. Biden said he understands workers' frustration and stressed that the record profits auto companies have earned have not been shared fairly with those workers in his view. Donald Trump said Thursday that he did not order a Mar-a-Lago staffer to delete security video at the center of an investigation into whether he mishandled classified documents. Trump told Meet the Press moderator Kristen Welker, quote, "That's false, but more importantly, the tapes weren't deleted. There was nothing done to them, and they were my tapes. I could have fought them. I didn't even have to give them the tapes, I don't think," close quote. Pressed about whether he would testify to that under oath, Trump said, "Sure, I'm going to testify." 3 Democratic members of the Senate Armed Services Committee are asking Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin for answers about whether Elon Musk or other commercial satellite providers disabled or restricted the Ukrainian military's access to communication networks and whether the Defense Department has the authority to intervene. In a new biography of Elon Musk, journalist Walter Isaacson reports that late last year, Musk prevented the Ukrainian armed forces from using Starlink satellite communication terminals to mount an attack on Russian ships in Russian-held southern Ukraine. Surveillance video captured the Beetlejuice musical in Denver on Sunday. Captured during the Beetlejuice musical in Denver on Sunday appears to show Rep. Lauren Boebert, Republican of Colorado, vaping inside the theater, which contradicts her aide's claim that the smoke was emitted from fog machines. The video, obtained by NBC affiliate KUSA of Denver, shows Boebert sitting in the theater, raising one of her hands to her face, and then a puff of smoke comes out of her mouth toward the person in front of her. The woman sitting behind Boebert leaned in to speak to her, and reporting said that the woman was pregnant and asked that Boebert stop vaping, which of course the congresswoman refused to do. Boebert was ultimately escorted out of the performance Sunday night for disruptive behavior while screaming, "Do you know who I am?" Republicans in Wisconsin are threatening to remove from office the newly elected state Supreme Court Justice Janet Protasewicz if she refuses to recuse herself from cases involving gerrymandering. The effort comes on the heels of Republicans in the state Senate advancing a move to oust the state's top elections official, which they have now done. The efforts to remove Protasewicz and the Wisconsin Elections Commission Administrator Megan Wolf from office have been decried by Democrats and government watchdog groups as undemocratic and could affect the administration of elections in 2024. Protasewicz won her election in April in a landslide, an uncommon victory in Wisconsin, where statewide elections are often determined by narrow margins. Minnesota Vikings running back Alexander Mattison was subjected to hate speech on social media after Thursday's 34-28 loss to the Philadelphia Eagles. On his Instagram stories, Mattison posted multiple screenshots of messages he received with racist language, calling him the N-word and telling him to kill himself. And late breaking news this afternoon, federal prosecutors have asked the judge overseeing Donald Trump's indictment on charges of conspiring to overturn the 2020 election to impose a narrowly tailored gag order on him, citing his near-daily social media attacks on numerous people involved in the case. The request was made to Judge Tanya Chutkin, who has herself, of course, been the subject of some of Trump's verbal assaults. When we come forward, we're going to be talking to KBLA sports reporter Ray Richardson about these athletes who just can't not hit their spouse or their significant other, rather. They just can't refrain from doing it, even if it means blowing up their whole career over it. Kevin Porter Jr. of the Houston Rockets, serious charges of assault against his significant other, including fracturing a vertebrae in her neck. And, of course, Julio Urias of the Dodgers has had his locker removed and murals of him around the stadium removed after a second credible accusation of domestic violence, this time a felony. We're going to talk about that with Ray Richardson when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
Hi, this is LA City Councilman Curran Price, inviting you to the 28th Annual Central Avenue Jazz Fest on September the 23rd from 11 to 7 p.m. For nearly 3 decades, the Central Avenue Jazz Festival has paid homage to the legendary Central Avenue and its influence on jazz history. Jazz, blues, and Latin jazz will be featured on 3 stages of music. Co-headlining are Hubert Laws with special guest Eloise Laws and the Billy Childs Quartet featuring Sean Jones. The day includes plenty of food, merchants, and 4 pavilions focused on youth programming, art, health and wellness, and public resources. Parking is limited, so Metro and rideshare are recommended. Hubert Laws with special guests Eloise Laws and the Billy Childs Quartet featuring Sean Jones. The day includes plenty of food, merchants, and 4 pavilions focused on youth programming, art, health and wellness, and public resources. For more information, visit CentralAveJazzFest.com. CentralAveJazzFest.com. See you on the 23rd.
Hi, Tavis Smiley here. I know you've been hearing the promo over and over again about our event this Saturday, about contracts and how you can get in the contract pipeline. Just want to remind you, it is this Saturday. Space is limited. Here's Dion Rambo to tell you more about what you can expect this Saturday.
Yo, what's up? This is Rambo, and again, you know the 3 words, contracts. This Saturday, there's one place you have to go right now, KBLA1580.com. If you want to see us talk about contracts, talk about grants, you got Caltrans who made all this possible. I'm super excited. You guys all know Rambo's been in the community fighting for you. Now, we got Tavis fighting alongside. This is huge. KBLA1580.com this Saturday. See you guys.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Roll Charmin ultra strong when you drop in the beat. It cleans with way less effort on your seat. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Yeah, roll it, drop it. Okay. Charmin flows extra strong from the road. Your butt hella clean while you're sitting on the bowl. Yeah, it's all you need for that bathroom groove. Get you in and out without nothing to prove.
Charmin Ultra Strong cleans better so you can use less. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
A lot of schools talk about training the cybersecurity workforce of the future, but do they really deliver? My Computer Career has been supplying the IT workforce with thousands of skilled, certified pros for 15 years. Train with the experts in support, networking, or cybersecurity, and start your career in months, not years. Upskill even faster. On campus or live online. Qualified students may get financial aid, including the GI Bill. My Computer Career. Accredited, acclaimed, effective. Take the free career evaluation at mycomputercareer.edu.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And it's the Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. Avi Bernard with you, and I am very pleased to be joined by KBLA sports reporter Ray Richardson. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. Welcome to the show, Ray.
Hey, Avi, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, doing great. Glad to have you on the show as usual, and I wanted to talk to you about these situations with athletes just unable to manage. Man, it's a rough life out here. It's so hard not to hit your girlfriend. It's so hard that it's worth to some people throwing their entire professional sports career away, and that is apparently the case with, as we talked about on the show last week, Julio Urias of the Dodgers, and now Kevin Porter Jr. of the Houston Rockets. So Kevin Porter Jr. He was arrested on charges of felony assault and strangulation related to the beating of his girlfriend, and prosecutors say that he punched his girlfriend with an open fist and didn't stop until she ran into the hallway bloodied of the Millennium Hilton Hotel in Manhattan, and she also allegedly had a fractured vertebrae as a result of the attack. And Kevin Porter has a history of violence. He has a contract, and he's supposed to be paid about $16 million this year. And it's the first year of a 4-year, $82 million deal. And 3 of those years are non-guaranteed. But what is guaranteed about 3 of those years is that he's not going to make any money. But I want to get your top-line thoughts on this, Ray.
It's frustrating, particularly in the Kevin Porter Jr. case. This is not the first time he's been involved in something like this, and I'm just curious about why he hasn't been held more accountable before now. The fact that his girlfriend has such a serious injury at this point, a fractured vertebrae is a very serious injury, and that's almost one step from being paralyzed.
Yeah.
And the fact that it's gone to this extent and he hasn't been called in on it or called out on it or at least reprimanded is a concern that, a lot of people feel like athletes are always given special treatment and the benefit of the doubt. It's beginning to, for a lot of people, it's beginning to get the realization that if you're an athlete, you can get away with certain things until something really goes down wrong. And now that this situation has escalated to the point of this young lady having this serious injury, I hope that this kid doesn't play ball again at all, because he needs to focus more on himself and figure out some of the issues and the symptoms that he has as an abuser. Somebody's going to wind up really, becoming a fatality because of his behavior. And hopefully this is a wake-up call for him and his family. And who's ever managing his affairs, they need to really get him on point before, somebody loses his life. And it's sad that this young lady got hurt like this, but this should be the wake-up call to get him straightened out. And if it doesn't happen now, it might not.
Yeah, right. If it doesn't happen now, then who knows what he'll do next. And I gotta thank our engineer Andy for sending me this long list of Kevin Porter Jr.'s misconduct. 2019, suspended by USC, where he went to college for personal conduct issues. The exact reasons were not disclosed. 2020, he was accused of punching a woman. Charges were not pressed. Also in 2020, he was arrested for handling firearms in a vehicle, marijuana possession, and driving without a license. That's a little bit less serious to me. 2021, verbal altercation with the Cavaliers GM for moving his locker. Of all the things, he was then traded to Houston. In 2021, sustained minor injuries in a Miami strip club altercation. And I heard about that when I think he smashed a DJ's laptop or something. In 2022, last year, dispute with Rockets coach John Lucas at halftime, in which he angrily left mid-game. And this year, felony assault and strangulation charge. So, how has he avoided accountability for so long? And before you answer, Ray, I just got to give a shout out to those joining us on YouTube. What's up to Forrest Harrison, and Pretty Brown Mimi? Thanks for hanging out with us on the KBLA YouTube channel. But Ray, how has Kevin Porter Jr. avoided accountability this long?
Well, there's some people who feel like because you're an athlete, you should be given, some extra service or extra treatment to try to deal with some things, and it hasn't worked with this kid. And it's just sad that the plan of trying to rehabilitate him has failed tremendously. That now you got a young lady whose mobility might be affected. Hopefully that she'll be okay. But this is kind of like the norm for athletes. People tend to treat them differently for some reason, and that's got to stop. I know that there's been athletes who've had troubles before, but it seems like the better athlete you are, the more you can, get away from things and get things done for you to stay out of trouble. I'm not trying to put any shade on Kevin Porter's ability, but I'm a little surprised that. No, it's not. But I'm a little surprised that he's been able to avoid, accountability for all this many infractions and still have a career. Because if you are a marginal player, you pretty much drop right away if you do something that's breaking team rules or team policy. Teams don't want to put up with you, but teams tend to tolerate you a little bit more if you are a good player or a great player and you've got some value. I'm not sure what Kevin Porter Jr.'s value is. I know he's been in the league 4 years,
right.
But I just don't see him. He's not an all-star. He's never been an all-star.
No.
And I just don't know why he's falling through the cracks, like you mentioned, without being, held accountable. That's troubling for me to see him see all these things you mentioned, and I've heard those things that you mentioned, and yet he still, has a big time NBA contract. That's not a good mix. That's not right.
Candy, you were saying something I couldn't quite get. What were you saying, Candy Andy?
No, I was just saying that I think some of those previous offenses, you could say he was a minor. He was young. You know what I mean? Like, he was not 21. And I think maybe that's one of the reasons why, I think grace was kind of given to him because of his age.
Okay. And yeah, maybe. But to your point, Ray, he's not that good. I mean, he's all right. I don't know that he's worth the 4-year, $82 million contract that he has currently, that he's not going to be able to play out because he's such an unbelievable mess. And so, yeah, as you're saying, the better you are, the more you can get away with because teams will do more to protect you. Mm-hmm. I mean, just imagine, someone like LeBron James, if he were to get in trouble, then teams would do anything to cover up for him because he's one of the best players of all time and they need him. And especially at the height of his career, single-handedly, he makes you a championship contender. And so teams would do anything to keep him on their team. Obviously, LeBron has never had those issues, which makes him even more remarkable as a person and as a player. Since he's been in this spotlight since he was in high school, he's never had any of these issues. No problems.
True.
And so with Kevin Porter Jr., he's just a regular player to me. As you said, I mean, what are they doing? What y'all could and now I'm just seeing the news that the Rockets are trying to trade him. They're trying to trade him. Like, who's going to take that deal? It's so ridiculous. But I also want to talk about with you, Ray, Julio Urias of the Dodgers. Now, in 2019, he was charged with misdemeanor domestic violence, and the story that was told by both him and his significant other were that he tried to grab her wrist and she slipped, and so that's what happened, and she fell, and that was the story they gave. And Julio was suspended 20 games by Major League Baseball, and now he is facing a felony domestic violence charge. The Dodgers have removed his locker. He is on administrative leave because of rules relating to the Major League Baseball Players Association. You can't just cut players because of allegations. So but Major League Baseball placed him on administrative leave, and the Dodgers they've cleared out his locker. They've made it clear that they don't want him back. Mm-hmm. What do you make of the Julio Urias situation, and do you think he'll ever play Major League Baseball again?
I doubt it. I seriously doubt he'll pitch again, at least not for the Dodgers. That explanation you mentioned that they offered about her slipping and falling, I hadn't heard that before, but that is almost irrational to even try to process.
Well, yeah, that was the first allegation. That was the one from 2019.
Yeah. Oh, 2019. Okay. Well, the incident that happened outside BMO Stadium, there were people who saw what was happening there.
Mm-hmm.
And what they saw was so alarming that they called security to try to protect the young lady from getting beat down even further. So I'm not sure what explanation they tried to give for that one, but this is number 2 for him. And the fact that he was still able to develop his career after the first incident like that, there were warning signs. And this is a similarity with him and Kevin Porter Jr. There were warning signs to people that there's a potential problem there, and it seems like there's been some failure to address that. And when you don't address something like this in the beginning, then you see these other things that happen that are more serious. Who knows what could have happened with that incident if no one had stepped up to alert authorities that the lady was in trouble with him. It's obvious that the Dodgers are cutting ties with him. They may not be saying it officially, but their actions prove that they are just trying to move on from this guy, and he will probably never wear a Dodgers uniform again, and he shouldn't. I mean, just look at the situation they're dealing with Trevor Bauer. They are nowhere near letting him come back.
Oh, no.
And he's steady saying that he's innocent and whatever he was doing with these women was consensual, but the Dodgers cannot afford that kind of PR and that kind of publicity. If they're doing that to Trevor Bauer, you can pretty much count Julio Urias not coming back. And when they move your locker out, that's as good a sign as any that you're done.
Right.
When you get involved with domestic situations with females, the way the climate is now with this Me Too movement, a lot of pro teams just cannot afford that kind of baggage. And I'm surprised that guys aren't being a lot more smart about how they handle themselves in public and private. So many teams and organizations, I don't know if Major League Baseball does it, but rookies have these symposiums in the NFL to learn how to act and how to handle situations. They do it in the NBA. I don't know if Major League Baseball does it, but if they're not doing it, they need to. They need to do the same thing that baseball and football and basketball are doing to try to get ahead of these situations with the youngsters before all that money starts coming in and, before they start making irrational decisions because of the money they're making. And a lot of these times, these things happen because guys think they're beyond reproach. Oh, I can buy my way out of this. So I got an attorney who can do this and do that. Well, I think those days are over. I got a feeling now the word is out that if you do something with a woman you're not supposed to do, you're going to pay for it. And not just money, but with your career as well.
Yeah. Not only is Julio not going to wear a Dodger uniform, I would be surprised if he wore any Major League Baseball uniform. Candy Andy, what's up?
I feel like this might be a little bit controversial, but I feel like, if you're a young athlete, stay away from the women, man. Like, focus on your craft. Don't get involved in any type of relationship because these cats just don't know how to handle their emotions.
Yeah, I think, and that I think speaks to the larger issue, Andy, which I think is anger management, that a lot of young men probably need to undergo. So I think it's sad, man, and if we don't address these things, as you said, Ray, if we don't address these things early, then they're going to get out of control, and the problem is not going to be fixed. It's going to get worse, and that's why. If we were to not address the situation with someone like Ja Morant, who has done something far less egregious than this, of course, but if we don't get on him about and tell him like, yo, this is wrong, and he should have learned his lesson. He lost $60 million, Ja Morant, because of his conduct, and hopefully now he's learned his lesson. But anything else you want to say to kind of wrap up this conversation, Ray? You
know what? That money you just mentioned is part of the problem. he lost Ja Morant lost $60 million and maybe a little bit more than that.
Mm-hmm.
To the average person, you would think that's all the alarm you need
Right.
to straighten up.
Yeah.
You would think that if somebody would say, well, can I afford to lose $60 million and still be happy? Well, that $60 million is not going to really affect Ja Morant's bank account that much. I mean, he's probably going to miss it. But will that be enough of a deterrent to keep him from further incidents? We don't know that yet. I mean, it's just so much money these guys are being thrown at that they feel like, well, I may lose a few dollars here, a few dollars there, but what's the difference? That money is just creating a lot of these really, really bad situations. Guys think they can overcome it, they can buy the way out of it, and there's more money coming, they'll be fine. With that mentality out there, I'm surprised we haven't seen more. And you know what? There have been more situations like that. We just haven't heard about it. And some people are a lot more discreet about it. Trust me, Ja Morant, Trevor Bauer, Julio Reyes are not the only guys out there who've had these kind of issues.
No.
They just getting blown up about it.
Oh yeah, and obviously Kevin Porter Jr. And so we're just about out of time. And you said $60 million can't really do much to harm Ja Morant. That reminds me of a Jay-Z line. I lost $30 million, so I spent another 30 because unlike Hammer, 30 million can't hurt me. Wow. So Ray Richardson, host of Saturday Night's Out of Bounds right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Thanks so much for the time, Ray. Always appreciate your perspective.
And thanks a lot for having me. You guys have a good weekend.
All right, you too, Ray. Take care. When we come forward, we're going to be talking to Valeria Esparza Chavez, head of home lending for the Hispanic segment of Wells Fargo. We're going to talk about the disadvantage that minorities face when trying to buy homes, and homes are quite the commodity, very difficult to buy right now, especially with interest rates. Going to have that conversation when we come forward right after this news, traffic, and sports update on KBLA Talk 1580.
Areva time is the right time. More of Areva Martin in real time when we come forward.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. New York City's Black Mayor Eric Adams continues to call on the federal government to do much more to help the city with the migrant crisis. The mayor spoke out again about the drastic budget cuts needed in order to make way for billions of dollars in spending on the migrant issue. Meanwhile, President Biden heads to New York City next week to address world leaders at the UN General Assembly. National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan told reporters he'll discuss a range of issues, including climate change and the war in Ukraine. The president will also meet with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on the sidelines of the gathering. And experts are outlining ways to prepare for severe weather and possible flooding as Hurricane Lee barrels through the Atlantic, headed toward New England and Canada. And that's the latest. I'm Esther Dillard from the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
A motorcycle is down in the right lane of Sepulveda passes 405 North before Ventura Boulevard, leaving you with a 30-minute delay and backup running heavy from Venice Boulevard. Making our way through Vernon on the 710 South after Atlantic, Bandini Boulevard split. An injury crashes on the right shoulder, while stop traffic is from Cesar E. Chavez Avenue up to 30 minutes. And in Laverne on the 210 East before Fruit Street, watch for a stall in the carpool lane, while stop traffic is coming from Lone Hill Avenue.
Warning! If you are 60 or older, RSV can be a dangerous respiratory virus.
Not all dangers come with warning labels. Talk to your pharmacist or doctor about getting vaccinated against RSV today. Learn more at bewareofrsv.com. This message is brought to you by Pfizer.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Apparently, the oddsmakers in Las Vegas were not impressed by the Rams' victory in Seattle last weekend. The Rams are at home for Sunday's game against the 49ers, but they are 8-point underdogs. 1 o'clock kickoff on Fox 11. The Chargers are a 3-point favorite Sunday at Tennessee. Number one item on the Chargers' priority list is improving their pass defense. The Chargers allowed 466 passing yards in last week's home loss to Miami. 10 a.m. kickoff on CBS. Tomorrow night at 7 here on KBLA. Join me and my co-host Neil Scarborough, the editor extraordinaire, for another episode of Out of Bounds. The NFL is fighting off more charges of racial discrimination. This one involves a former NFL reporter. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Gotta stay fresh, my house shot with a rest bar,
Have you visited us online for the grand opening of KBLA.store? For the best in new merch, gift ideas, books, media, and more, log on to KBLA.store. Be sure to check out our KBLA team favorites at KBLA.store today. That's KBLA.store for all the official merch on your favorite talk radio station, KBLA Talk 1580.
Have you heard about Lendistry? Lendistry is a national black-led small business lender that is headquartered right here in LA. Once you've started your business, Lendistry provides flexible financing options starting at $50,000 to help you access the affordable capital needed to grow. Whether financing is needed to increase working capital, acquire a business, purchase inventory and equipment, or refinance debt, Lendistry has a solution for you. Lending products range from traditional business term loans and non-revolving lines of credit to SBA 7A loans and commercial real estate financing. Lendistry's pre-application process is simple and does not impact your credit score. Visit lendistry.com/KBLA to learn more and to get started with an application right from the website.
The City of Los Angeles Emergency Renters Assistance Program will start accepting applications at 8 a.m. on September 19th. The program will provide up to 6 months of rent subsidy to low-income residential renters who are at risk of homelessness due to unpaid rent as a result of COVID-19 or other financial hardships. Learn more at housing.lacity.org. That's housing.lacity.org.
Some days I cover up because of my moderate to severe plaque psoriasis. Now I'm hitting the road with clearer skin thanks to Skyrizi, Rizumkizumab Riza, a prescription-only 150 milligram injection for adults who are candidates for systemic or phototherapy. With Skyrizi, 3 out of 4 people achieved 90% clearer skin at 4 months. And Skyrizi is just 4 doses a year after 2 starter doses.
Don't use if allergic to Skyrizi. Serious allergic reactions and an increased risk of infections or a lower ability to fight them may occur. Before treatment, your doctor should check for infection and tuberculosis. Tell your doctor if you have an infection or symptoms such as fever, sweats, chills, muscle aches, or cough, or if you plan to or recently received a vaccine.
Thanks to Skyrizi, there's nothing on my skin, and that means everything. Your doctor today about Skyrizi, the #1 dermatologist prescribed biologic in psoriasis, and visit skyrizi.com or call 1-866-SKY-RIZZI to learn more.
You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's a Friday edition of Areva Martin in real time. Avi Bernard with you every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific. Thank you for listening to us on 1580 AM here in Los Angeles on the free KBLA app, and listening to and watching us on YouTube. You can watch us live on YouTube, and we are very pleased to be joined by Valeria Esparza Chavez, head of home lending for the Hispanic segment of Wells Fargo. Valeria, welcome. Oh, Valeria, I'm sorry. Valeria, right?
Yes, Avi. Thank you so much for having me here today. It's a privilege to be here having this conversation with you and with your listeners.
Well, we're grateful to have you. You're putting on an event, and I want to start the conversation by just you telling us what the event is and when it is.
Yes, absolutely. So tomorrow morning, we will be at Sola Beehive, which is located on 1000 East 60th Street. And we are having a breakfast and advancing homeownership fair. And the event is really to empower our community with information about the home buying process. We are going to be there with many of the local nonprofit organizations, community-based organizations, HUD counseling agencies, to really connect our community to all of the amazing programs that are available and opportunities to help our communities increase home ownership in the current environment.
So, what do you think about home ownership on the whole, in terms of related to, or as opposed to renting? You know, the economy is up and down,
right?
But rental costs are always rising, especially here in LA.
Yes.
So, what do you think about renting versus buying right now?
Yes, Avi, I get that question a lot, and we do know that safe and affordable housing is really a key pillar to accessing that American dream. It's a way for families to create generational wealth, which is something that's very important to our historically underserved communities, as we know that there exists a racial wealth gap in America. And so homeownership is really, it's a critical lever that we have in order to increase generational wealth and really close the wealth gap. And then with regards to, you know, should I buy or should I rent? That's a question that I get a lot, Avi, and it really depends on the family. You know, there are instances where maybe renting makes more sense if you're moving around, or, you know, maybe not sure if you're staying in Los Angeles and planning on perhaps relocating somewhere else. But for the families that are really looking to settle down and be here for a long term, then buying may make the most sense. And so it's really important for our families to empower ourselves with the information and knowing what our unique situation has, you know, how much we can afford, you know, our own personal situation when it comes to credit, our debt to income ratio, all those different portions of making essentially what is the largest financial decision that a family can make in our entire lifetimes. And so empowering ourselves with information is so important, and that's why we're going to be at Sola Beehive tomorrow morning, 10 in the morning. We're going to serve free breakfast, and we really invite, for everyone who's listening here today, we want to provide this information to you, and we're going to be there with all of the local nonprofit organizations and other trade organizations to share this information with our community and really provide this awareness about what's available. It is really difficult when a lot of the times the information doesn't get to our communities. And so that's another barrier that we have. And that's why at Wells Fargo we're really focused on doing these programs all over the country. And we're coming here to Sola Beehive tomorrow morning here in Los Angeles, California at 10 in the morning. And so I invite everyone to come, bring your family, your friends, and Avi, and if, you know, the community, the listeners are homeowners themselves, it's still important to share this very powerful information with our nieces, nephews, brothers, sisters, cousins, everyone, right? And then, of course, if you're renting, consider your options. Don't assume that you're not ready, because a lot of the times when we talk to families, they may be closer than they think.
So, Valeria, the Advancing Homeownership Fairs, they are they're supposed to help people of color, Black people, Latinos, including Afro-Latinos, to kind of prepare for homeownership. But why is it that people of color have been at a disadvantage when it comes to buying homes?
That's a great question. And yes, our Advancing Homeownership Fairs are community. It's just for all of our communities. So, yes, we are definitely really focusing on doing outreach in historically underserved communities. We know that there are systemic barriers because there are gaps in homeownership rates. And a lot of that has to do with historical systemic reasons that communities have been left out. And we want to ensure that we're working across the industry with the industry, governmental, local stakeholders in markets across the country so that we can really focus on lending to traditionally underserved communities by removing some of those systemic impediments. And one of the systemic impediments is the awareness around what is available for our families and providing that information so people understand and have access to all of the options and resources that are available. So these fairs are available to anyone who wants to attend, but definitely we want to ensure that we do more outreach in historically underserved communities. And that's why we'll be at Sola Beehive tomorrow morning, 10 o'clock in the morning at 1000 East 60th Street here in Los Angeles, California. It's a free event. We're going to serve breakfast, and we want to see as many people as possible and just have a conversation with you. Sit down with our experts, learn more about your own personal situation when it comes to the home buying process. And we're here to really empower ourselves so that we can make this dream of home ownership a reality.
So I love that you're providing more information to the community, especially doing it for free. I have to ask though, can't we say that banks, large banks like Wells Fargo, have been part of the problem in the past, and is that the reason why Wells Fargo is now undertaking efforts like this?
What's most important is that for us to address that there are systemic barriers across the industry, and more importantly, that Wells Fargo, as the largest bank home mortgage originator for the past decade to Hispanic, Black, African American communities, we have been the largest lender in the last 10 years. And so we've demonstrated a long-term commitment to developing solutions so that we can help to close the gap and contribute to a more inclusive housing system. And so I'm on the diverse segments team. We have an entire dedicated team across our country that works tirelessly day in and day out so that we can advance products, programs, and this outreach is another part of what we do. And we're just so excited to be here tomorrow. We're hosting these fairs because we believe that we can advance homeownership in communities of color that have been historically underserved and left out.
So can you tell us, what do the statistics say about the percentage of minority homeowners in the Los Angeles area right now? How are Blacks, Hispanics, and Afro-Latinos doing in terms of ownership right now?
Well, there has been progress in terms of home ownership in the California area, but it's still very low. So when we're looking overall, minority home ownership rate in Los Angeles, you're looking at about 30%. Black home ownership rate about 27%, Hispanic home ownership rate about 28.8%, compared to over 43% of the white non-Hispanic population. And so we live in a majority minority area, and we have to do better. We have to do better, Avi. And again, that's why we are so focused and intentional of doing our outreach, working in our communities. We're going to have our team on the ground there tomorrow morning to have a conversation. They can just sit down and have a consultation with the community members that come out, the families. There's, of course, no obligation, but just having a chance to get an idea of what are our options. That's so important, right? And not assuming that maybe it's just completely out of reach. And that's something that is near and dear to my heart, because sometimes we may make assumptions. And I know I've been in that situation before. Personally for myself, when I was looking at buying a home, I was in my 20s and I didn't think it was possible. And thanks to down payment assistance, I was able to become a homeowner because of down payment assistance programs that I didn't even know existed.
Yeah.
And there are hundreds of thousands of dollars in down payment assistance in this area that can truly make a difference for maybe a family that may assume that they're not ready, or maybe they don't have enough money saved. And then, of course, there's so much diversity within our communities. We have so many variety or so much variance in terms of our income, et cetera. And so it's just so important to learn about what is available, what's out there. And like I said, homeownership is a powerful lever for us to close the racial wealth gap in America.
Yeah, absolutely. And just to be clear, so when you say that let's say Black people have a home ownership rate of 27%, that means that about 73% of Black people do not own homes in this area. Is that right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's a big number. That's a very
That
big
is a
number.
big number.
So when we come forward, Valeria, I want to ask you about credit and whether, I know that as you were saying, you at one point thought, maybe I can't do this and maybe I can't afford it. And just knowing your options is really important, because I remember having those thoughts too before I became a homeowner. And and for a long time, those thoughts prevented me from even looking into the possibility. And that sometimes we can hold ourselves back because we don't have all the information. So I want to talk about that when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
She's the real deal in real time. You're listening to Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm David Goldberg, a bilingual elementary school teacher and president of the California Teachers Association. As we start a new school year, there's something new happening in California's public schools. They're called community schools, where families, students, educators, and communities are making decisions as one.
As a parent, I feel like we're really valued as partners in the education system.
Community schools are bridging the systems of academics with the community.
The curriculum is designed around the students and their academic needs.
I know community schools are working. We see it in parent involvement. We see it in student academics.
We saw double-digit gains in math, English, and reading scores.
It's a more innovative, holistic approach to educating students.
I really feel like this is the first time that we're really seeing a system change in our school.
It's innovative, fresh,
and they're already working.
We invite you to learn more about community schools as we come together to reimagine public education here in California. And that's why CTA brought you this message.
Did you know addiction to drugs like meth or cocaine is a disease and not a choice? But getting help is. If you have stimulant use disorder, you, your family, and friends may have a lot of questions, including where to start. Choose Change California can help. Make a change today and find a proven treatment option for you at choosechangeca.org.
What's up, party people? It's your favorite MC's favorite rapper, MC Light here. And we're celebrating 50 years of hip-hop, authentically powered by Cadillac. And we're going to take it way back to where it started. It was only fitting that hip-hop began with teenagers at a back-to-school jam in the rec room of a South Bronx apartment complex by an 18-year-old brother. By the way, I'm also sure he had a Cadillac parked outside. He noticed the energy on the dance floor when he switched between two turntables, extending the beats, repeating the breaks, and never losing the rhythms. And that was the birth of hip-hop. And from that moment, it took off.
For more on how Cadillac is celebrating hip-hop's 50th, visit Cadillac.com/audacity.
Some people won't give you the real talk on drugs, but it's time we know the facts. Fentanyl is killing people. It's a powerful opioid, often made illegally and commonly mixed with illicit drugs. It can even be pressed into counterfeit pills that resemble prescription medications. Just 2 milligrams, about the size of a few grains of sand, could potentially be lethal. This isn't an ad to scare you, but it is an ad to make you think twice. Get the facts. Go to realdealonfentanyl.com. This message is brought to you by the Ad Council.
There's no time like the present. Let's get back to more of Areva Martin in real time on KBLA Talk 1580.
And it's Areva Martin in real time, the Friday edition. I'm here with you, Avi Bernard, every Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. And we are pleased to be joined by Valeria Esparza Chavez, head of home lending for the Hispanic segment of Wells Fargo. And we're talking about home ownership in the Los Angeles community, specifically relating to the Black and Brown communities within Los Angeles. And they have Wells Fargo, that is, has an advancing home ownership fair tomorrow. And we're talking about the benefits of learning the information about what it is to be a homeowner, what it takes to become a homeowner. And as we were saying before we stepped aside, I myself was very skeptical before I bought a home that I could. I was like, well, I don't know if I can, and then I need this much money, and then, but there are so many programs in which you can, pay a lower down payment, and it makes a big difference. And once you get in, it really does change your life, because once you own that home, as long as you can afford the payments, and that's the big thing. I would never encourage someone to get into a situation where that would make them stressed out, or that would really strain them, and that they weren't able to sustain. But when you break down the numbers, a lot of times, especially in LA, when you're paying a mortgage, it's going to be the same amount or less than you would be paying for rent, and you're going to be accumulating a lot of that money in return. When you're renting, you might as well burn that money because you're never getting it back. When you own a home, then you're getting equity in that home, and your home is appreciating. So while you're living there, you're just it's like a forced savings account that has a high interest rate, basically. In my opinion, I'm not a financial expert, but just in my opinion, that's what it's like to own a home. But Valeria, I wanted to ask you, for someone who thinks that maybe their credit isn't that good, or their credit is even bad, and they don't have money for a down payment, should they take the time to come down to the Advancing Homeownership Fair?
Avi, I think it's so important to really sit down and learn about our credit and what our credit score may be. And going back on our conversation about maybe making an assumption, and I'll share personally, prior to purchasing a home, I had co-signed for one of my friends, and that ended up being a ding on my credit. And so I had some challenges, personally. And when I sat down, with an expert, looked at what I had to do in order to improve that credit score, because a credit score is just a snapshot in time. It's going to change from day to day. And that's one thing that, especially if we may have been in a situation where, perhaps credit is not as good, with time, it will improve, especially if we're being intentional with it. And so it's really important for us to sit down with an expert that can address, what are some of the things that we can do if we have had perhaps credit score issues in the past, but are intentional to improve that credit score. And again, tomorrow we're going to be at Sola Beehive. It's a wonderful venue, 1000 East 60th Street, Los Angeles, California, at 10 in the morning. It's a free event. And we want to sit down and talk to you, see what it will take. Even though, credit may be an issue, we can help connect you to the local resources that can sit down and, work with you as you improve your credit, if that's an area to enhance. And there's always hope for that credit to be better. I learned from that mistake, Avi. Never again, right, to ever co-sign for anyone. And I was really young, right?
It's dangerous. Yeah, it's dangerous.
And, it is really dangerous.
And we want to help our friends out. We want to help our friends out.
Yes.
Maybe you have good credit and your friend doesn't, and they have an apartment they really want to rent, or a car that they really want to purchase, and you want to help your friends out, but it can really affect your life. And so
right.
Whether or not you co-sign for someone, I'm not going to advise whether to do that or not, but just know that it can be devastating if you do it, and it's and your friend turns out to not be able to handle the payment on whatever it is that they're buying.
Right.
It's that's crucial. But where is there a website that we can learn more about the fair tomorrow?
So you can go to the Sola Beehive website, and our event is posted there under events. So that would be the best area where we have a flyer that's out there, or just come down tomorrow at 10 in the morning at Sola Beehive. It's in off of South Central Avenue in the South Los Angeles area. And it's going to be a beautiful event, family friendly. Bring your kids. We're going to have activities for the kids. And again, we just want to empower our communities and continue to make progress so that more people can attain homeownership. For anyone who's hopeful, who has that goal and has hope to become a homeowner, this is an opportunity for us to demystify the process. There's so many myths out there. And there's also a lot of programs that are available. Even if you don't have a perfect credit score, there's so many programs, VA programs, FHA programs, If you're a union member, there are programs and a lot of benefits. And so knowledge and taking the time to get informed is the first step, and that's why we're here tomorrow morning at 10.
And give us the address one more time.
It's 1000 East 60th Street, Los Angeles, California, and it's at Sola Beehive.
All right, Valeria Esparza Chavez, thank you so much. Is there a social media handle that we can keep up with you or the work you're doing?
Yes. Well, you can. I'm on LinkedIn. That's probably the best area for all the work that we're doing. Yes, it is the grown-up social media. But you can find me, Valeria Esparza Chavez, on LinkedIn. And you can also, if you have any additional questions, you can go to wellsfargo.com/mortgage. But, definitely find me on LinkedIn. I do have a social media, but I don't post too much on that personal one. So please reach out to us.
No worries. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to share it if you wanted to. That's all.
No, I need to get more active on social.
No pressure. No pressure at all.
Yes. But please share this. We want to see everyone, and please invite your family and friends. And we look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow morning at 10.
Valeria Esparza Chavez, thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening.
Yeah, take care, and have a great event and a great weekend. So when we come forward, normally I would be saying goodbye at this time, but not today. I'm going to stick around, and I'm going to walk you through the latest in entertainment news. I'll be sitting in for Robin Ayers and the Raw Report coming up next here at 6 o'clock. We're going to talk about 21 Savage. Should he be deported for having an affair? That's on the table. And why do all these coaches continue to hate on Deion? I don't get it. We're going to talk about that with our multimedia journalist contributor, Neil Anderson is going to be joining us, and she is full of knowledge and experience in the entertainment industry. We're going to get into that right after this news, traffic, and sports update on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Esther Dillard, and here's the latest from the Black Information Network. Congress is looking into the deadly wildfires on Maui. The U.S. House Energy and Commerce Committee will investigate the Hawaiian Electric Company's role in the fires. The utility company's CEO and state regulators are set to appear in Washington, D.C. for a hearing on September 28th. About half of Americans are willing to roll up their sleeves for a new COVID-19